Hello and welcome back to our weekly market recap. I'm with Rich.
Hello, everyone.
And I'm Knight. Let's get to it. So this past week we saw the market down 2.9%, which brings us down year to date 7.6%, down from the highs in February 11%, but up from the lows in March 33.4%. So this past week we did see the markets down, and the two main market movers were the Fed stress test on Thursday night and the states re-shutting down, specifically Texas and Florida, coming out with some new guidance. So Rich, you want to speak about the Fed test?
Yes, so Federal Reserve, in order to prevent banks from having failures and making the current situation worse, which is what happened back in 2008, test banks and was testing it with a much worse situation and made the decision that they're thinking, at least that's how the market is looking at it, that the environment, the economic environment is going to be much rougher and longer for a greater duration than thought before. As a result, banks can't increase their dividend and can't do buybacks. Now, if you remember, some of the statutes came out specifically precluded companies from increasing executive pay or doing stock buybacks. So I don't think banks were going to do that anyhow.
Yeah, basically what the Fed came out and said with these two areas is it's clear that they believe banks need a higher level of liquidity than they have currently, and they want to stop them from using their excess funds again to either give it back to their shareholders or to buy back some of their shares, which again, they weren't going to do in the first place. But even that guidance and that limitation from the Fed, what it speaks to more is what is the underlying economic health right now. And right now, the Fed is really worried. And on the bright side, these stress tests work. And it's going to, in the long run, probably be a very positive thing that we're keeping that amount of liquidity in the economy, so that way people can, reach their money and spend if they need and continue to live their lives that they need. But in the short run, it does send a bad message towards the market, and that's why we ultimately saw a pretty large sell-off on Friday.
Absolutely. Good, very good points.
And the next piece that we saw that really changed the market was, again, Texas and Florida kind of re-shine down. Texas specifically was a huge change from Monday, where the governor said, the last thing we're going to do is shut down the economy. We're going to keep it going. And on Friday, it's a completely different message. And now, I do think it's very important to be clear that we are not seeing a full economic shutdown. We are just seeing a scale back in the shutdown, back from 75% openings in restaurants down to 50%. But they did close the bars, and that was a big move to do in Texas.
Absolutely. And it's also indicative of what we're expecting to see in throughout the country. Now, we've had 16 states that are showing increases in the coronavirus. Dr. Fauci said that was still part of the first wave, in his opinion, and I think that's a good analysis. And 34 states where there's improving numbers on the coronavirus. So a more careful rolling back, as Knight has said, may be the better way for both the economy and controlling the virus than just a total shutdown, but we will see.
Yeah, do you think that this is a positive in some ways? Obviously, the market didn't like this reaction, but in some ways we're getting more evidence as to what is the healthiest way of reopening up. And again, we're not shutting down the economy fully, but we're learning more about, well, what is a safe way to do it? What do we continue to do as a country?
Absolutely. And that's a very good point. And it also points to, we have 50 states, basically each one doing a slightly different experiment in their economy and what to do. And obviously, what works for Massachusetts may not be the same thing that will work or is good for South Dakota or North Dakota. So some differences is to be expected.
Yeah, thank you. The last thing that we wanted to talk about was what we mean by increased volatility. I think you have heard us speak about it for, the past month, and really what we're talking about is exactly what happened this week specifically. So the first month during the coronavirus, we saw a steep trend line, in the negative direction. We lost around 33%. And then since then, we've seen a pretty strong trend positive. But what are we expecting kind of going forward? We've said we're expecting more volatility. Well, this week we started down, and then we had a huge spike in the middle of the week on some positive news where we saw the market rally. And then we saw a sell-off again to end the week. And really that's what we're speaking about. Going forward, we're expecting little information shifts to have some major swings in the both positive and negative direction. Now, we're not expecting, a huge trend to emerge currently as to either straight down or straight up, but we're expecting, again, increased volatility throughout the near distant future.
Absolutely. And that will mean that on any given day, you may feel you'd want to get in or out of the market, but we've set up the portfolio such that we've minimized the downward movements and maximize the movements going up, and we expect to keep going with the same plan for you moving forward.
Yeah, and so we'd like to finish today like we do all, in that your money is here to support you in your life. We're here to support you. So really for this week, continue wearing your mask, continue practicing proper, social distancing when you're out there. We know it's been a while and it's been a long run of it, but it's just as important to keep safe practices, but also do something fun. Do something fun that is also practicing, good safety, and let us know about it. We'd love to hear it. So anyways, we hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you again next week. Thank you.